That much anticipated spring offensive from Russia appears to have begun. The Russians are looking to advance strongly in Donbas, the eastern region, and heavy fighting has been reported in Luhansk and Donetsk in the face of strong resistance from Ukraine. It's not quite turning out to be some big Russian breakthrough, not yet anyhow.
They're making very slow progress, very heavy weather. And this is because they exhibit a very low level of combined arms competence compared to the Ukrainians. But they are inflicting quite a lot of casualties on Ukrainian defenders.
It's a heavy push from the Russians, but there is a question now whether a military push is necessarily as effective as it may be heavy. And they face now more of those NATO missiles, the NLAWs, the Javelins, others that blew Russian armor to bits about a year back when they invaded first, and now there are HIMARS and a host of other missiles thrown in. There is a view that Russians appear to be relying too heavily on artillery.
It's relying on sheer weight of artillery fire and sheer mass to try and force its way through. But its infantry is going forward in a way that's familiar from the first 3 years of the First World War, suffering very heavy casualties as it does so.
But will the spring offensive only necessarily come from Russia? The Ukrainians have been preparing to spring an offensive of their own.
Ukrainian officials like the Ukrainian army chief and other senior Ukrainian army leaders have all said, yes, this is the year in which Ukraine mounts counter-offensive operations to retake significant amounts of territory. And they've always said that they regard Crimea as a legitimate objective. So the Ukrainians are very clearly announcing what they want to achieve, and the Russians are announcing what they want to achieve as well in terms of establishing full control over those 4 oblasts. So we're likely to see a very bloody year in which these two opposing plans come into conflict, and there'll be heavy fighting with lots of casualties.
Ukraine has its plans and its ambitions to retake all of its territory, but it may not have enough new weaponry from NATO in time to bash through Russian positions as they intend to. Consider what Ukraine asked for, and not even counting the fighter jets that are not coming its way.
300 tanks and 700 infantry fighting vehicles. So 1,000 modern fighting vehicles. The Leopard 2 tanks that have actually been pledged number no more than 50. In terms of modern infantry fighting vehicles, we've had 100 US Bradleys offered by the US and 100 Marders, and 40 Marders offered by Germany. I mean, that's enough for one armoured brigade and a small proportion of another. It's not more than 20% of the numbers of armoured vehicles that Ukraine has asked for.
The bigger spring offensive from either or both sides may yet come. For a start, it's not quite spring yet, but it's all now pointing to more and more bloody battles that may not produce the full result that either wants.